I want you to take a second and just, well, think back to the last time you felt perfectly healthy.
Like 100% healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Not a single ache anywhere, no congestion in your chest, just completely energized.
A really rare feeling, honestly.
It is, right?
Hmm.
Now, let me ask you, in that specific moment, did you actually actively notice it?
Probably not.
Exactly. Did you stop while walking down the street and think, wow, the sheer lack of pain in my lower back is just intoxicating today?
I mean, no one does that.
Right. If you're like most of us, probably not. We only ever seem to really notice our health the exact second it's gone.
Yeah, we are totally blind to the baseline.
And in fact, Chapter 4 of Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic, argues that this exact blind spot in our tendency to ignore our baseline well-being is precisely why we lose it.
Which is a huge claim to make.
It really is.
Okay.
So, welcome to our continuing series on the deep dive where we analyze the daily chapters of this book. Today's focus is entirely on the magical health practice.
Yeah, and we have a really fascinating stack of notes from this chapter today.
We do. We're looking at how a very specific mental framework might actually be, well, the ultimate hack for your physical well-being.
And we are not just talking about adding another chore to your morning routine.
No, definitely not. We're talking about discovering a hidden biological superpower that we all supposedly possess, but just constantly forget to use.
Because it's a massive shift in how we fundamentally view our biology.
Right.
I mean, the entire premise of this source text is that health isn't just some static baseline. It isn't a lucky coincidence of genetics or, just the absence of illness.
So what is it then?
It frames health as an active daily gift. And the core argument we're unpacking today is that actively practicing gratitude for that gift is the actual mechanism for maintaining it.
Maintaining it and, according to the text, quite literally multiplying it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the author brings up this Roman poet, Virgil, who said, "The greatest wealth is health."
A classic quote.
Yeah, and there's also an Italian proverb cited in the text that essentially says, "He who enjoys good health is rich, even if he doesn't know it."
Which is just universally true.
It really is. And the book gives this incredibly relatable scenario. I mean, think about being bedridden with just a minor cold or a 24-hour stomach bug.
Well, the worst.
Right. Suddenly, nothing else in the universe matters. Your career goals, your inbox, your social life, it all just vanishes.
You'd trade everything just to feel okay again.
Exactly. The only thing you want is to feel normal.
Because when you are sick, regaining your health becomes your singular consuming obsession.
Yeah.
But the text challenges us on the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
Like, what happens the day after the fever breaks?
Oh, we immediately go back to taking the body for granted.
Exactly. And psychologists actually have a term for this, hedonic adaptation.
Hedonic adaptation. Okay.
Yeah, we just rapidly get used to the good things in our lives until they literally become invisible to us.
Wow.
And the book presents a specific formula to combat this.
Yeah.
It says, gratitude for health brings an abundance of health.
Right.
And a lack of gratitude results in even your current health being taken away.
It honestly reminds me of how we treat our Wi-Fi connection.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. Like, we never actively appreciate the Wi-Fi when it's working flawlessly. You never sit on your couch streaming a movie in 4K and think, I am so deeply grateful for this invisible radio frequency.
Bouncing off a satellite somewhere.
Bouncing off a satellite, exactly. But the second the router breaks,
It's called meltdown.
we completely lose our minds. We obsess over the flashing red light on the box. We are suddenly acutely aware of the router.
Yeah, and the author is basically saying we treat our physical bodies the exact same way.
We really do. But here's where I want to push back on the text a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, the author notes that there are people who choose very healthy lifestyles. Like, they eat right, they exercise, and yet they still lose their health.
Right, they do everything right on paper.
Yeah, so the implication here is that eating kale and hitting the gym aren't enough without this mental component of gratitude.
That is what the text is arguing.
But wait, is the book actually implying that a highly stressed gym goer is biologically worse off than someone eating junk food who just happens to be deeply grateful?
Well, it is a very provocative stance.
Because that totally contradicts a lot of modern wellness advice.
What's fascinating here is the mechanism the author is pointing toward. The text isn't necessarily saying that diet and exercise are irrelevant.
Okay.
It's shifting the focus from a purely mechanical view of the body, where food is just fuel and exercise is just maintenance, to a deeply psychological one.
So the mind is part of the machinery.
Exactly. It's proposing that physical maintenance without mental appreciation is a fundamentally incomplete system.
Interesting.
Consider your mindset as an actual biological input. If you're drinking green juice, but your mind is swimming in chronic stress, resentment, and just a general feeling of scarcity.
And your body feels that.
Yeah, your nervous system is still interpreting your environment as a threat.
So the green juice is basically fighting an uphill battle against your own stress hormones.
That's the argument. The source suggests that gratitude is an active force in the health equation.
Like an actual ingredient.
Right. It's not just a polite thing to do. It is the environment in which health thrives. And this is where the text starts making some fairly intense claims about what gratitude can actually achieve on a physiological level.
Oh, intense is an understatement here.
Yeah, it goes pretty far.
The author quotes a Presbyterian preacher, John Henry Jowett, who calls gratitude a vaccine, an antitoxin, and an antiseptic.
Which is incredibly heavy imagery.
Very heavy. And the text claims that by doing this specific mental practice, little aches, pains, moles, scars, and marks will start to magically disappear.
Moles disappearing.
Yes, moles and scars. It even says you can improve your eyesight, your hearing, and all your senses. So what does this all mean? Like, as someone trying to read this objectively, how are we supposed to digest this mix of literal magic, like disappearing moles, with the actual physiological reality of our bodies?
It's a leap, for sure. But we have to look at the underlying science the source leans on to bridge that gap between magic and biology.
Okay, lay it on me.
While the text heavily utilizes the word magic, it grounds the practice in a very real, well-documented biological mechanism.
Which is?
The drastic reduction of stress and tension. The text points out that scientific research shows stress and tension are at the root of many diseases.
I mean, that part is definitely true.
Right. So the mechanism the author is describing isn't a mystical spell. It's the elimination of chronic underlying stress.
Okay, I understand that stress is bad, obviously, but how does just feeling thankful translate to scars fading or living longer?
Well, the source cites studies revealing that people who practice gratitude heal faster and are likely to live 7 years longer.
7 years. But walk me through the actual leap from having a thankful thought to cellular healing.
It comes down to the field of psychoneuroimmunology.
Say that 3 times fast.
I know, right? It's basically the study of how your brain, your nervous system, and your immune system all interact with each other.
Okay, makes sense.
When you are stressed, your body enters a sympathetic nervous system state, commonly known as fight or flight.
Right, the survival mode.
Exactly. In that state, your body pumps out cortisol and adrenaline. It pulls resources away from long-term maintenance projects, like repairing cells, digesting food, or, healing a scar.
Because those aren't emergencies.
Right. And it pushes all that energy toward immediate survival. Your immune system is literally suppressed.
Because your body thinks you are literally running from a tiger, so it doesn't care about fixing a blemish on your skin.
Yeah, exactly.
It just wants to survive the next 10 minutes.
But the problem is, modern humans are constantly running from metaphorical tigers.
Oh, for sure. An angry email, a traffic jam.
A looming deadline, exactly.
Yeah.
We live in a low-grade fight-or-flight state constantly. And the text argues that a lack of gratitude causes a literal loss of vitality because you were just burning out your system.
It makes you feel heavy and age faster.
Yes.
It's like driving a car with the parking brake engaged.
Oh, that's a perfect way to describe it.
You are unnecessarily wearing down the machine while simultaneously wondering why it's so hard to accelerate.
Which is why the gratitude practice is framed as an antitoxin.
Yeah.
You cannot be in a state of deep, genuine gratitude and in a state of high alert panic at the exact same time.
Oh, because the brain doesn't allow it.
Right. When you feel true gratitude, you signal safety to your nervous system.
Yeah.
You shift into the parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest.
Okay, so the cortisol drops.
The cortisol drops, the inflammation goes down, and those long-term repair mechanisms turn back on. That is the magic the author's talking about.
It's the body finally being allowed to heal itself without the parking brake on. Okay, but if we accept that underlying stress is destroying our immune system, the obvious question is how we actually stop it.
Right, practical application.
Because lowering cortisol is a lot easier said than done when you're late for a meeting and your tire goes flat.
Definitely.
How does the author propose we actually break that stress loop? Because the book doesn't just say be happy.
No, it gives a specific method.
Yeah, it takes you on this highly specific mental audit of the human machine.
It forces a perspective shift. It guides the reader through a deliberate mental scan of the body, sequenced to build a really compounding sense of awe.
Here's where it gets really interesting because I actually found this how-to section surprising.
How so?
Well, it starts with the legs and feet. The text reminds us that they are our main form of transportation. It's the miracle of walking, balancing, climbing steps.
Things we do without thinking?
Exactly. It gives us our fundamental freedom. Then it moves up to the arms and hands, the major tools we use nonstop all day.
And we really take those for granted.
The author points out that without the use of our hands, we would completely lose our independence. We'd have to rely on others to eat, dress, use the phone.
What the source is doing here is utilizing a variation of a concept from Stoic philosophy.
Oh, really? Which one?
It's known as negative visualization.
Imagining the loss of something to appreciate that you have it.
Exactly. It's a highly effective neurological reset. Instead of just trying to force a generic happy thought, the text vividly details what these specific body parts allow you to do,
Right.
forcing you to confront the reality of their loss without having to actually experience it.
That's powerful.
By doing so, it takes the abstract, fuzzy concept of health and makes it highly tangible. You stop thinking about health as just not being sick and start recognizing it as the active ability to pick up a coffee cup or walk across a room.
And the sensory part of this audit was fascinating, too.
Yeah, the five senses.
The text talks about taste and reminds you of how awful it is when you have a cold and food just tastes like cardboard.
Oh, I hate that.
Or the sense of smell. But it doesn't just say appreciate smelling. It lists these hyper-specific triggers.
Like what?
Like the smell of clean sheets, dinner cooking, a fire burning on a winter's night, or the earth after it rains.
Those are very evocative.
Yeah, and it talks about touch, the ability to feel hot and cold, or the preciousness of a reassuring hug.
Elevating these sensory details is a powerful mindfulness technique.
It really pulls you in.
It yanks you out of your ruminating thoughts about the past or the future and grounds you violently in the physical present.
Silently, yeah.
I mean, it is neurologically very difficult to maintain an abstract anxiety about next week's mortgage payment when your brain is deeply focused on the physical sensation of breathing or recalling the exact smell of a winter fire.
To hammer that home, the source brings up this blindfold challenge.
Oh, this was an interesting exercise.
The author suggests putting a blindfold on for just an hour and trying to do your normal routine. Make your coffee, check your email, walk around your living room.
Which would be impossible for most of us.
Right. The claim is that you will instantly, profoundly appreciate your eyes. And it does the same for hearing, like music, voices of loved ones.
But the focus shifts inward eventually.
Yes, and for me, the pinnacle of this entire body tour is when the text goes internal.
The internal systems really demonstrate the sheer scale of what the body is doing beneath our conscious awareness.
The text mentions the brain, pointing out that it processes over 1 million messages a second through all your senses.
1 million a second.
It says there is no computer technology in the world that can duplicate it. Then it talks about the trillions of cells working 24/7.
Just constantly regenerating.
It talks about your life-sustaining organs, automatically filtering, cleaning, and renewing everything. It paints this picture of our internal organs as a fully automated, ultra-high-tech factory.
That's a great visual.
And the craziest part, we don't have to manage the factory. We don't have to clock in and consciously tell our kidneys to filter blood or manually pump the heart muscle.
Oh, it just happens.
We just get to live in the penthouse while millions of workers keep the building running perfectly.
Wow.
And finally, the text honors the heart itself, the organ that governs every other organ and keeps the life flowing.
The factory analogy captures the author's intent perfectly, I think.
Yeah.
You are occupying a multi-billion-dollar piece of biological machinery. The guided tour is explicitly designed to transition the reader from a state of total ignorance about this machine to a state of profound reverence for it.
So once we have manufactured this reverence, what do we actually do with it on a Tuesday morning when we're running late?
Right, how do we apply this?
Because the book lays out an action plan called Magic Practice Number 4, Magical Health.
Which is the actual homework for the chapter.
Right. It outlines a specific protocol that essentially creates a gratitude sandwich for your day.
Or gratitude sandwich.
Yeah. You start by writing out a list of 10 blessings and reading them aloud. Standard baseline gratitude.
Okay.
Then there's an evening routine where you hold a magic rock before sleep and reflect on the best part of the day.
But the middle part is the key.
Yeah, the real heavy lifting happens in the middle of the day.
The daytime protocol relies on environmental triggers.
Triggers, right.
The text instructs you to take a piece of paper or a card and in big, bold letters write, "The gift of health is keeping me alive."
And the gift of health is keeping me alive. Okay.
And you are supposed to put this card somewhere highly visible. Your desk, your car dashboard, near the sink where you wash your hands.
And then, on at least 4 separate occasions during the day, you read those words very slowly, one word at a time, and actively try to feel that reverence for your health.
That's the practice.
But I have to bring up a major point of skepticism here.
Go for it.
If you're listening to this on your commute, you're probably rolling your eyes at the idea of putting a sticky note on your dashboard.
I mean, it sounds a little cheesy.
Right. In our incredibly distracting modern lives, bombarded by smartphone notifications and constant demands, how does a piece of paper with a sentence on it actually accomplish anything biological?
Does it compete with the noise?
Yeah, does a sticky note really compete with all that noise?
If we connect this to the bigger picture and look at behavioral psychology, it is actually one of the most effective tools for behavior change.
Really? A sticky note?
Yes. What the source is doing is setting up a pattern interrupt.
A pattern interrupt?
When you are caught up in the chaotic autopilot of your day, stressed about traffic, irritated by a coworker, your brain is caught in a specific neural loop.
Right, the fight or flight we talked about.
Exactly. It's releasing those stress hormones.
So it's like a record player with the needle stuck in a groove, just playing the same stressful track over and over.
That is a perfect way to look at it. The physical sticky note on your dashboard is the act of lifting the needle off the vinyl.
Oh, I see.
Suddenly, your eyes catch this physical card that says, "The gift of health is keeping me alive." It acts as a physical stop sign for that chemical loop. It forces you, even if it's only for 10 seconds, to anchor back to your physiological reality.
It stops the record.
Right. It reminds you that beneath the transient daily drama of your commute, your heart is beating, your lungs are breathing, and your cells are functioning.
It brings you back to baseline, shifting you out of fight or flight.
And by doing it 4 times a day, as the text prescribes, you are actively preventing that stress from accumulating unchecked.
You're breaking the cycle.
You are repeatedly lowering the cortisol before it has a chance to flood your system and suppress your immune response. You are taking conscious control over your autonomic nervous system.
Wow. So to bring this all back to you, the listener, the goal of today's deep dive was to extract the core insight from this chapter.
And what is that core insight?
Well, according to this text, gratitude isn't just a polite social custom or a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling to have around the holidays.
No, it's much more mechanical than that.
Exactly. The author is framing gratitude as an active, daily, biological mechanism for sustaining your literal life force.
It reframes gratitude from a passive emotion into an essential biological nutrient.
A nutrient. I like that. There is a line in the source material that really stuck with me as I was reading.
Which one?
The author states that if gratitude were used in conjunction with conventional medical treatments, we would see a health revolution with recovery rates and miracles like we've never seen before.
That is a huge statement.
It is, which leads me to the thought I want to leave you with today.
Okay.
The source strongly implies that our cells, our organs, our entire biological factory is constantly listening to the instructions provided by our thoughts.
They're always listening.
If that's true, if a moment of gratitude acts as an antitoxin and physically turns on your cellular repair systems, what else is our internal subconscious monologue building up or tearing down on a cellular level every single day, completely without our awareness?
It suggests our inner dialogue doesn't just stay in the brain, it echoes throughout the physical body. Every thought is a physical instruction.
It really makes you think about what you're telling your body.
Absolutely.
So as you go about your day-to-day, try to find just one miraculous thing your body is doing on pure autopilot right now.
Just one thing.
Maybe it's the fact that your eyes are automatically adjusting to the light of the room you're in, or your ears are effortlessly decoding the sound waves of our voices into language.
Which is incredible when you think about it.
Just notice it. Use that as your pattern interrupt to lift the needle off the stress record and simply say thank you for it. Don't wait until the Wi-Fi router breaks to appreciate the connection. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.